Life is full of ordinary days. We wake up, eat breakfast, go to school or work, and come home. Most days look the same. But sometimes one single day can change everything. It can be a meeting, a chance, a decision, or even a mistake. That day becomes the beginning of a new story. This is the story of Daniel, a young man in his early 20s. He was like many others, trying to figure out his life. He had dreams, but also fears. He had energy, but also doubts. He wanted more. But he did not know how to get there. Then, one day, everything changed for him. This story is not about magic, superpowers, or fantasy. It is about real life, real choices, and real growth. It is about how one day can open a door that was always there but never noticed. As you listen, imagine yourself in Daniel's place. Maybe you will see a part of your own story. Maybe you will remember your own day of change. Or maybe your day is still waiting for you. Let's begin. Daniel was 22 years old. He lived in a small apartment in the city. The walls were thin, the rent was high, and the noise from the street never stopped. He was a university student, studying business, but he also worked part-time in a cafe. His days were the same. Wake up tired, rush to class, take notes, go to work, make coffee for strangers, go home, and fall asleep late. He often wondered, is this all life is? He watched others on social media traveling, smiling, and living exciting lives. But his own days felt boring and heavy. Daniel wanted change, but he didn't know how. He thought maybe after graduation, things would be different. Maybe he would get a better job. Maybe he would feel free. But inside, he doubted it. He felt stuck, like running on a treadmill, moving fast, but going nowhere. He didn't tell anyone about these thoughts. To his friends, he smiled and joked. To his parents, he said everything was fine. Deep down, he carried a quiet sadness. He wanted something more, but he didn't know what. Then came a day that would break the routine. It was a Tuesday like any other. Daniel woke up late because he had forgotten to set his alarm. He rushed, threw on his clothes, and grabbed a piece of bread before running out the door. On the bus, he felt tired and annoyed. When he arrived at class, he realized he had forgotten his notebook. "Great," he whispered to himself. His professor gave a long lecture, but Daniel's mind was far away. He kept thinking, why am I even here? After class, Daniel walked toward the cafe where he worked. On the way, he saw a small crowd near the university square. A man was giving a talk about entrepreneurship and chasing your dreams. Usually, Daniel would just pass by. He was too busy, too tired, but for some reason he stopped. The speaker was full of energy. He spoke about failure, courage, and how young people waste time waiting for the right moment. Daniel listened, his heart beating faster. He didn't understand why, but the words felt personal. It was like the man was talking directly to him. Daniel wanted to stay longer, but he had to go to work. As he walked away, he thought, maybe my life doesn't have to stay the same. Maybe something can change. At the cafe, Daniel put on his apron and began his shift. Customers came and went. Some were kind, some were rude. He smiled politely, made coffee, cleaned tables, and repeated the same actions again and again. But his mind kept returning to the words of the speaker. Courage, change, don't wait. He thought about how long he had been waiting. For graduation, for a job, for someday. Maybe someday was just an excuse. In the middle of his shift, something unusual happened. A woman around his age ordered a coffee. She was carrying books and a laptop. Daniel asked politely, "Are you a student too?" She smiled and said, "Yes, but I'm also starting a small business." That word, business, sparked Daniel's interest. They talked for a few minutes. She explained how she was creating an online store with handmade designs. She wasn't rich, but she was excited. She said, "It's hard, but I love it. Every day feels like progress." Daniel felt inspired. Here was someone his age, not waiting for permission, not waiting for the future. She was creating her own path. When his shift ended, Daniel walked home with her words echoing in his head. That night, Daniel could not sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He kept thinking about the man in the square and the woman in the cafe. Both had courage. Both were chasing something. He asked himself, "What do I want? What am I afraid of?" The truth hit him. He was afraid of failing, afraid of looking stupid, afraid of disappointing his family. So he chose safety, study, work, routine. But safety was slowly killing his spirit. At 2 a.m., Daniel opened his laptop. He wrote in a notebook, "Things I love, things I want to try, things I am afraid of." The list was messy, but honest. For the first time in months, Daniel felt awake, not just physically, but inside. He thought, maybe tomorrow can be different. Maybe I can begin. It was the beginning of a storm inside him. The next day, Daniel decided to talk to his parents on the phone. He loved them, but he always felt pressure to make them proud. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad," he said nervously. They asked about his studies. He hesitated, then admitted, "I don't know if business school is really for me." There was silence. His father cleared his throat. "Daniel, education is important. Don't waste this chance." Daniel felt small, like a child again. He explained that he wanted to try something different. Maybe start a small project. Maybe explore other paths. His parents worried. They reminded him of risks, money, and security. The conversation ended with heavy feelings. Daniel sat quietly in his room. He felt torn between his parents' expectations and his own heart. But even with their doubts, something inside him whispered, "You must try." Daniel decided to start small. He loved photography, but he never took it seriously. That week, he posted some of his pictures online. To his surprise, people liked them. A friend messaged him, "Can you take photos for my event?" It wasn't much, but it was something. Daniel agreed. When he took photos at the event, he felt alive. Hours passed, but he didn't feel tired. He felt joy. For the first time, he thought this could be more than a hobby. But soon, doubt returned. Who was he to think he could be a photographer? There were thousands of talented people out there. His camera was old. His skills were not perfect. At night, he almost deleted his photos. But then he remembered the man in the square. Don't wait. He also remembered the girl in the cafe. Every day feels like progress. So Daniel made a decision. He would continue, no matter how small the steps. One evening, the same girl from the cafe visited again. Daniel told her about his photos. She encouraged him. "Why don't you start a small page? Share your work. You never know who will see it." She even introduced him to a friend who needed photos for a business project. Slowly, Daniel began to meet new people. Each small connection opened another door. For the first time, he felt less alone. Months passed. Daniel still studied and worked at the cafe, but photography grew. He saved money, bought a better camera, and practiced daily. Then, one afternoon, he received an email. A local magazine wanted to feature his work. Daniel read it 3 times, not believing his eyes. His heart raced. This was the moment, the day when everything truly changed. The magazine feature gave Daniel confidence. His parents, once doubtful, saw his passion and slowly began to support him. Friends cheered for him. Opportunities came, step by step. Daniel still had fears. Life was not suddenly perfect, but he was no longer stuck. He was moving forward. Looking back, Daniel realized it all began on that ordinary Tuesday, the day he stopped to listen, the day he chose courage. Daniel's story is not special because he is different. It is special because it is real. Many of us live in routine, waiting for someday, but change does not wait. It begins the moment we decide to act. Your day of change may come when you least expect it, at a bus stop, in a cafe, during a simple conversation. When it comes, will you listen? Will you act? Remember, courage does not mean no fear. Courage means moving forward even when fear is there. So what about you? Has your day everything changed already happened? Or is it waiting for you tomorrow? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, like the video. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories in simple English. Because maybe, just maybe, today is your day.